I think for me, first and foremost, the topic of the default masterclass incredibly important, and I think it's important for me to be involved in such a process. I mean, I think the interesting thing to me is that default and Random is still such a new organization, and so the opportunity to be involved in the development of such a process is incredibly interesting to me within the context of this topic that is so integrated in my own work and is important to me personally. So for me, having the experience of being a participant first and then being part of Random is incredibly priceless. I mean, I think to be part of that development process is completely eye-opening for me.
It was not exactly the first experience for Art of Asia a context like this one. For example, in 2010, Art of Asia organized an important meeting, a symposium, a 3-day symposium between different cultural players and artists. So we had the opportunity of experiencing something like that back then. But of course, it was the first time in which we put together artists from Asia and Europe for 10 days. And so it was quite intense. I think we were interested in this because we really believe that collaborative projects stem out of the encounter between people rather than between institutions, and that's also the way in which we operate to create bridges between Asia and Europe.
Maybe I have to start with explaining that the purpose of moving cities, we still see ourselves as an experiment in the margin of the architectural field, and within that margin, we actually try to understand what is happening in the urban world, in the architectural world, and I think there's two distinct areas you can operate in. You can operate in the real area and build something, build buildings, participate in competitions, change the physical morphology of the city.
We're also interested in bringing architecture closer to people, and I'm not sure we managed to do that so far. So originally we thought that of bringing architects of different cultures together and sharing what is architecture, and especially what is the shaping of the city, what is urbanism, or what is the role of infrastructure and landscape in our lives. But we also think that most people are unaware of their physical surroundings or the decision making about the processes that actually shape our existence, where we live, where we sleep, where we work. Somebody designed it, somebody took that decision, and we think it's important for people to realize that those structures are that they're changeable, they could adapt to us, and we can demand more from the people that actually take decisions. But to demand more, we also need to know what we need, what is changing and what is the new needs of people and society.
Try to understand better the dynamics undergoing in the city, and to find the best and the most interesting place where it's possible to do a positive interaction and intervention.
Also to create this movement of, okay, there's a past and there's a present, but let's also put a present that looks towards the future and do this. So
yeah, and those videos are very curious because they look perfectly fitting in the screen of your laptop on one hand, but once you put them in the space, It can be a public space, it can be a very small room that works like a perfect furniture for office space, then it works differently. And you see the layers, and the layers are actually, the black and white is the architecture, so it's the city. It's the moving city, and it's the stereotype as any young artist interested in public artist will work. Let's go in the city, let's take the bus, the public transport, and let's work on the surface. That's the moving city. The second degree is what you are actually doing at that moment. You are not only looking at the background, the black and white architecture, you are reading something, and your reading somehow connects to the thoughts of the artist, Riccardo Benassi himself. So you are in real time you're reading the thoughts of somebody else, the artist. And then something arrives somehow. But something that arrives catches your attention. And what arrives is very weird. I mean, it's kind of 3D, awful objects that catch your attention even more. And they are like, flames in the middle of black and white background, and they disturb your perception and your reading. And those flames are the future.
Project is a project which I've been asked to think about something. This was a commission from SH Contemporary in Shanghai, the Contemporary Art Fair, and together with Art Hub, Asia, and other bodies. So they gathered, we produced this work, which was based on the history of the Shanghai ghetto, which is a story rarely spoken actually, because they don't really know, but that's we know, but we don't know. So I was exploring that through my producer, Francesco Girelli and Davide Quadrio. I found amazing materials at the BFI in London, the British Film Institute. So those 35mm travelers, so-called travelers, shot by English travelers in Shanghai in the 30s and 40s. So there were kind of unseen materials because they were still 35mm in the boxes. So we checked those materials, and then we went to the lab in London, and they did the transfer into digital. So I edited the movie, which is a 62 minutes movie, and it's a kind of premiere, of course, because those materials they never. Yeah, people last time they saw it maybe was at the end of before the war, basically before the Second World War. So it's a premiere, and together with this film made out of those found footage, so-called found footage, I created the entire structure based on sound and music, working on soundscapes from the 30s we found online, voices, survivors from the time, interviewed in the States, decades later, and so I combined all these materials in order to produce this EHI environment.